Hey y'all. This is Rose AJ coming to holla at y'all from the Carnivore Connection, where we have heartfelt and soulful conversations. Today, I have Stacy with me, beating cancer with carnivore. But before we begin her interview, I'd like to start with two announcements. The Carnivore Connection group coaching for women that are 50 plus, women that want to learn about the carnivore way of life, have support, resources, coaching, and community. I'm doing a beta test group, which begins on September the 9th on Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Y'all, for all 12 weeks of coaching in this beta test program, it's going to be $45. Those links will be in the show notes for the beta test group. You get 12 weeks of community support, connections, resources, the whole nine. And then the second announcement is I'm going to do a meetup, MEATUP, on September the 14th here in Tacoma on Point Ruston. So Saturday, September the 14th at 10 o'clock, there will be a 5K walk on Point Ruston. We're meeting in front of Wildfin Grill. And then after the walk at 11:15, we'll walk across the plaza to Jewel Box Cafe for a coffee social. But you guys know, I think this is day 7 of me being without coffee. I'm no longer a coffee connoisseur. So my beverage of choice at that time will be black tea. But yeah, like I said, those links will be in the show notes. And then we're going to go ahead and turn this over to Stacy at this time. So Stacy Boothang, it's all.
Hello, everyone. I'm Stacy, as she said. Let's see. I guess I can kind of start off with the bio that I sent you. So I am a almost 46-year-old single mother of 2 young teenagers, disabled Air Force veteran. You're going to hear my dog barking in the background. I'm just going to go ahead and let you know that now. Disabled veteran. I spent 10 and a half years in the Air Force and the fuels flight. So everything fuels, refueling aircraft, storing it, issuing it, all of that. We did all of that, making sure it was clean and dry, which no sediment waters. Anyways, let's see. I was raised here in the South. We grew up on, this typical Southern food: fried chicken, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes. And to boot, my grandmother owned a little cafe. So I was basically raised in this cafe. I was there every single morning. That's where all of my meals came from. So my dad was a single father. He got me when I was about 4.5, 5 years old, got custody of me. He was a very loving soul, but he was not, he didn't know how to be a parent. And he was what you call a hoarder. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the hoarding, the shows on like TLC or whatever it was, where people were hoarders and they hoard just everything. Well, my dad unfortunately hoarded, and he wouldn't throw trash away. It was a very neglectful environment. So and then eventually he ended up where he would worked at a nightclub, my uncle's nightclub. And he would, work all night, sleep all day. So I was alone a lot. There was a lot of neglect. Again, I don't want to talk too negatively about my dad, because he did the best that he could. And once you're older, you realize your parents are doing the best that they can with their own circumstances. But I use food from early to pacify, to keep me company, to entertain myself. I would get, like I said, all of my meals came from my grandmother's restaurant. And so he would bring food home, and then the house would just be leftover food in the fridge, and it was all molded. Or there would be tea glasses of molded tea everywhere. And it was just a very disgusting environment. So like I said, I use food for comfort and to deal and to cope. And so by the time I was 13, he was already probably leaving me alcohol and smoking weed with me. Yeah, at 13, 14 years old. So again, I used food. I became addicted to cigarettes and all of that stuff at a young age. Now, it wasn't every single day. I was what they call a weekend warrior, whatever. And by the time I was an adult, I was functional. I worked my butt off during the week. And so I used the excuse of, I work hard, I'm going to play hard on the weekends, and was just drunk every weekend. There's so much more to it than that, but I'm going to try to, not get too in detail about it. But so let's see, let me just say I have a mom, and still left my mom, and 2 other sisters, 1, 2, 3 other sisters. So I had a sister from my dad's side that we didn't know about until I was 15. No, she was 15 and I was 14. And then I had an older sister named Mandy who passed away at the age of 45, which is the age I am now, almost 46. Um, she got breast cancer that eventually moved to her brain, and it took over, and she didn't survive. That was about She was diagnosed at the age of 37. And then around about 2018, she was still going through the brain cancer and all of that. And my mom got diagnosed with stage, I want to say 2 or 3, ovarian cancer. And we were living together at the time. I'd already lost everything. I've been through so much. So lost everything, was staying with my mother. She beat the ovarian cancer, and it has recently come back to her brain. So she just had a tumor removed from her brain, um, just in the last. It's been what, 6 months ago, a few months ago. So she was diagnosed. It came back last year, but she's doing okay now. Um, so needless to say, seeing all of, and my dad passed away. I had a husband, my first husband, who I met when I was 15. We got together when I was 17. We were together until I was 29 years old. He passed away at the age of 37. He was a juvenile diabetic. Um, Ended up having a stroke in his brain stem, and he passed away at the age of 37. So I've lost so many people. So that being said, 2017, 2018, I was going to school to be a medical assistant of all things. And here I am, overweight and unhealthy. So I got to thinking, plus all of the health issues with my mom and my sister, I just got tired of feeling bad, feeling sick, overweight, in pain, addicted to sugar, addicted to alcohol on the weekends, addicted to cigarettes. I had 2 young kids at the time, and I just had to make a change. Luckily, I overheard a girl in the school saying something about a keto diet. She was very fit. And so I was like, what is this about? And I must have heard her say something about meat and cheese. And I was like, if I can eat meat and cheese, I'm in it. Like, sign me up. But I did a lot of research. I found Ken Berry at that time. I think it was Eric Berg at the time, was following them. Eventually, did a lot of research first, started my keto journey, it took me a few months. I was eating a bag of Skittles this big, the family size bag of Skittles a day. So that alone, I was just like, I got to cut the sugar addiction. And I didn't want to get cancer, right? But I ended up with cancer anyway. So anyway, I ended up losing about 80 pounds, close to 80 pounds on keto, right? Well, that I had so much energy from that. I ended up in a CrossFit gym. And loved it, fell in love with it. And to this day, I'm a level 1 CrossFit coach because of it. But during that time, I was told, you're going to find in CrossFit community, they very much believe in carbs, and which is okay. I've decided I'm not here to like force anything on anyone. But I was told, in order for you to work out the way you do, you're going to have carbs, you're going to get injured and this and that. So I started trying to incorporate carbs back in and this and that. That was what, 2020, 2021. And it's just been, I hadn't been strict since then. So leading up to my diagnosis of cancer, I'd already been researching carnivore because I knew that I was re-addicted to the keto sweets. They've plastered the word keto on everything. Things that because it's sweetened with stevia or the erythritol or the things that don't spike your blood sugar, I justified it, right? Because I still wanted that sweet taste. I justified it. And so I got re-addicted to all the sweets and all. And then I'm having, just this little bit, one cheat day is not going to hurt me because I'm already, I'm fat adapted and I can jump right back in it. Well, too many of that. And next thing you know, you're like, what's happening? I've gained weight. So needless to say, I was already looking into carnivore from Ken Berry anyways. And then what happened was February 7th of this past year, I was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. All of us, my mom, my sister, my little sister, and me, we all have the BRCA1 gene. So I believe that along with the poor lifestyle, poor food choices, I had developed the cancer. But so that day, because I'd already been looking into it, I switched to strict carnivore. February 7th, 2024. All carnivore. I was vaping CBD at the time, PTSD, whatever. threw that away, stopped all the sugar, stopped everything, just carnivore. Beef, butter, bacon, and eggs basically is all I was eating. Some chicken because I would eat chicken. My kids love I make the pork rind chicken nuggets because they love chicken nuggets and I love it too. So, and, stuff like that. But cheese, I have cheese, heavy whipping cream in my coffee, which I am also trying to quit. I'm also trying to quit. It is such an addiction. And that is also one of my last vices is the coffee. But so yeah, February 7th. So, okay. So fast forward, I had to go to the VA. They were talking about 2 months before I would even get in for a consultation about my cancer. So I waited and waited. But during this time, I'm still, one of the symptoms of ovarian cancer, obviously, is pelvic pain, which I'd had my whole life, didn't think anything of it. But within 1 week, and I had abs, I was a CrossFit coach. I had abs. You could barely see them, but I had them. Within 1 week, my stomach, I looked like I was 6 months pregnant. And I just knew something, like I thought I was eating too many fiber cookies, the keto that I thought was keto fiber cookies. And I was like, no more of those. But anyway, so yeah, within 1 week, my stomach blew up. So because of my mother's history, that history of ovarian cancer, I was like, well, I guess I should go to the emergency room, which is what I did. Went to the emergency room, and that's when they told me I had cancer. And went to the wrong emergency room. But anyway, so I just mean wrong because they didn't have a great bedside manner, but I ended up going to the hospital that ended up taking care of me. But so from February, so what my point was, sorry, I go off on a tangent, but February 7th, diagnosed, quit everything. I still hadn't been seen by the VA, so I had to go to the emergency room because I was in so much pain and so much bloated I couldn't move. And so I was admitted into the hospital for 4 days. And of course, they do a test called a CA-125 test. So that is your cancer antigen numbers. My first one was 5,718. Anything above 35 is abnormal. Anything below 35 is normal. And I think they said everyone has a number. So it was 5718. All carnivore within those 4 days. I think it was maybe 4 or 5, 6 days later, they did another test and it already come down to 4888. I hadn't even had chemo yet. Now, some people are saying, well, that's just because, but no, that's not because of anything. I had not had any chemo and it doesn't fluctuate that much because I asked, they were like, well, it fluctuates. It doesn't fluctuate that much. It was a steady drop. So then I ended up, I did agree to chemo just because it was stage 4 and I was terrified and I have teenagers to raise. And so I said, okay, I'll do chemo. I'm not doing any radiation. So I did the chemo and the carnivore, and like my numbers just steady dropped. The next one was, I don't know, 3,000 and something. And the next one was like, so within 6 months from February 7th, 2024 to today, well, it went back up like a point. It was first 9.2 and now it's like 10 point something. So well below normal. And I truly believe that it was the carnivore that helped. My side effects from chemo were so much less, I think, than most people. Not to say that I didn't have side effects or anything. I mean, it hurts your bones. I mean, obviously my hair fell out. I did lose a lot of weight in the beginning. But like I never threw up one time, and I have a phobia of throwing up. So, I mean, there was other problems, but we won't go into that. But but it was just not as bad as I think that it could have been. And I'm not sure that I've ever, maybe people have beaten stage 4 ovarian cancer in 6 months with chemo, but I don't know. But I personally think that the carnivore is kind of what helped that along. So I don't know if I rambled too much, but so now that I have the BRCA1 gene, obviously I have to stick with the carnivore. I've had steroids, and I think that I will say I did fall off the carnivore for about a month because steroids. I didn't even think about the fact that they give you steroids with your chemo and all of that, right? So I was just like eating everything, and just your inhibitions, I guess you say, my discipline was just like out the window. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I feeling like this? Why am I just like saying yes to the crap again and letting this get back in my system? And then I was like, oh yeah, steroids. So I'm back on schedule. I mean, not schedule, but back on track for the most part. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect still, because it's difficult with the steroids, but last chemo was what, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. They were trying to give me 7. That was not the original plan. It was supposed to have been 3 chemos, surgery, and then 3 more. Ended up being 4 chemos, surgery, and now they're saying 3 more. And I'm like, no, I'm not having a 7th one. Number one, I have to get back to work. But number two, I feel amazing. My blood work was perfect. Cancer antigen numbers are down. All of my platelets, my the CBC panel, metabolic panel, all of that stuff was near perfect. So I'm like, why do I need more chemo? The chemo is what's going to make all that stuff go out of whack again, and it did. So now I'm working to get all the chemo out of my system and get back strict carnivore, get back to the gym, and just keep the rest of the cancer at away. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Girl,
That was a lot.
you are a miracle, Stacy. Oh my gosh, I'm just in awe of you, even more so. I am sorry for all the losses that you've experienced this far in your short lifetime, first and foremost.
It's been a lot.
And to be diagnosed this year and to have taken so much action that you have taken. I don't know what to say. I'm just speechless for once. I'm actually speechless. Yes.
It was just, I tried not to, number one, I tried not to let that fear enter because, like I told my kids when I had to tell them that I had stage 4 cancer, I'm not go- I don't have the option to die. Like, I cannot leave them. It's just the 3 of us. I mean, we have, my mom, my sister, my niece, and they do have a father, but really it's just the 3 of us, right? And I have to raise them. Like, no one else, it's no one else's responsibility but my own. Not, and it's not even responsible. It's my pleasure. Like, they're such awesome kids. So I just didn't even let that. I couldn't even let that enter into my psyche, right? Dying or anything like that. So I just, one day at a time, like, I'm just cutting out everything and taking my health into my own hands because that's what we have to do.
Yes, we do have to take our health into our own hands, but I want to ask you about your community. Do you have
Mhm.
community surrounding you and supporting you? What do your family members think of what you've done? I mean, you've turned the ship around. What do your coworkers or your clients think?
Let's see. My mom, I actually got her going on carnivore for a little while, and it's just so hard. And she's 68, so she kind of fell off. And I'm not going to give up on her. And I think she's still trying, but every little bit helps. But when I first started, like the keto, like years ago, it was a shock to a lot of people because I lost weight so fast. People thought I was on drugs. Like, people thought, I was such a change. I didn't drink anymore. And anyone that knew me before, I mean, I was the one. I was throwing them back. Like, I could hang with anybody. But and I say that like I'm proud. I'm not proud. I used to be proud of it, right? It used to be like, but I changed so much that it was an adjustment, I guess you could say. I also worked just because I needed the benefits. I worked at the military commissary, which is the grocery store for the military bases. I worked there for about 3 years, and excuse me, it was a shock to everyone. People thought I was crazy because I was only eating like, and I still was mostly like carnivore keto. I wasn't. It was mostly just meat and a few vegetables, and people thought was crazy. My community now is my gym, um, and I love them all very, very much. But it's just a gym, it's the gym. I have my mom and my sister, but we all live separate lives. So my community is making sure I get to that gym every day and making sure that I'm staying in touch with my mom and my sister and my kids. So, and then now I'm trying to build, I guess you could say I'm trying to build a community this way with people, like-minded people, because I need that. It gets hard to feel like you're crazy or people looking at you like you're crazy all the time. I try not to let that enter into my psyche as well. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm doing okay.
Good, good. Do you have support? Are you going to see a therapist or do you have maybe a beating cancer support group? If I'm making sense, do you have
Yeah,
any other outlets of support?
you do make sense. And no, I really don't. Excuse me. So I just, I guess this was it. Like, thought about therapy a few times. I've asked the VA to send me to therapy, and they did, but it's so, like the first guy, it's almost like you see on these movies where you walk in and they're just like looking at their notes and don't even look at you. Same with my VA doctor. I mentioned this on this video, but it's like you go in and I had to get her attention to even look me in the eye and be like, "Hi, I'm Stacy. Nice to meet you." And so it's hard for me. Plus, with the background of growing up almost in a double life with living at home with my dad, who was, teaching me to smoke and all this stuff at a young age and being in that environment. And then having a grandmother and an uncle that was super successful and people would see me there and think everything was fine. So it's like a double life kind of thing. So that leads to a lot of paranoia within me, so I'm afraid to open up to any kind of therapist because I feel like they're going to use it against me. But I keep saying, okay, I'm going to go, I have to go to therapy. Like I have to talk to someone. So I'm working on it. I'm working on being able to even go.
I
If
hear
that
you.
makes sense.
It does, because this takes me back to my childhood, as we discussed prior to starting this
Mhm.
recording. I always grew up with what happens in this house stays in this
Stays in
house.
the house. Yep.
Black people don't go to see other people. You're going to get your ass beat if you talk about da 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 da, just the
Right.
whole nine. So, and then as an 18-year-old leaving home right away, oh, you black girl, you better have your superwoman cape on. You can handle it. Depression doesn't affect you, which it always had, Stacy, from
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah, all of
literally
us. Yeah.
birth on,
Yeah.
right? So I believed all that garbage, right?
Hmm.
And where did it get me?
I
Right? So
know. Right.
so but everybody has to find their own course to have support and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I've never reached out or gone to a therapist or psychologist or been on meds or anything like that. My way of helping myself was through learning, continual
Hmm.
learning. I was obsessed with that as a kid, reading books, and it's actually called bibliotherapy, right?
Yeah.
Phil Donahue, watching these talk shows,
I used to
mimicking
watch them. Yeah.
and Oprah Winfrey. So I was doing the self-help thing, the
Yeah.
bibliotherapy thing, right? And learning all along. And so what's prompted me to start this is that I thought that I could do everything on my own, including my recovery, right? Including
Right.
beating this addiction to food,
Right.
processed foods, just the whole nine. But I just decided, I had to decide that I needed to invite others in. And the way that I'm doing that is obviously virtually with
Yes.
you, connecting with you and others, and hopefully leading the charge in a different capacity, and just to keep showing up. And yes, people can recover quietly, people can
Hmm.
recover on their own. But I can tell you from my own personal experience, and I'm almost 57, give a month, that it would be easier in community, easier with somebody,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Doing it your way, but to have support and whatnot. So I would just encourage you, Stacy, to continue to maybe try to reach out to whatever resources that you have, and maybe you
Yeah.
will connect with the right person. It might take 4 or 5 people as far as what the VA has to offer you, but
Sure.
never stop, never give up.
I know,
Yeah.
right? I'm similar with you. As I thought, well, maybe if I share it online, then that would help. At least because it's so unique. Each one of our stories is so unique. Like mine is, my dad was a hoarder and got me. And every. So I think, and then we think we're the only people, and it's like there's so many people out there that probably went through something very similar to what I went through, what you went through. So yeah, I like that, and I don't wanna relive it over and over and over either, you know what I mean? But at the
Yeah.
same time, just, I guess, give people permission to really even just get it out, like, stop hiding yourself, because I know that's what I did my whole life. I was trying to hide myself because I didn't want anybody to know what our living conditions were like. So, and really just kinda be, like you said, transparent. Like, there's nothing, I'll tell you, there's really nothing that, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just, yeah, being transparent, I think that gives other people permission to let it out of them. If at the very least, just get it out out of your system and let your
Yeah,
body and your recover.
I like the transparency, the authenticity, and that you know that you don't have to keep reliving it again and again
Hmm.
and again. But it's also directional. If you use the energy or the trauma, because it made you and me the persons that we are today,
Exactly.
right? Without
Exactly.
that, but we can always build a new story from this day forward. We can take
Right.
whatever facts from our past and create our current story and, use that for our future.
Hmm.
And then there's some people, like you said, just reliving it over and over and over. And that's the only thing that they draw out of their past. And that's their story to present.
Hmm. Yeah.
But you just extract what you will and leave the rest behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's like,
Right.
yeah, it's like, you don't want to, instead of reliving it as in what's, my, where you get stuck. I think a lot of us get stuck is what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You go over it again and try to figure it out. Like, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? Why did this happen? Instead of not reliving it, but going over it again to kind of acknowledge, okay, this happened this way, and this is why I say, for instance, this is why I will stay in this apartment. I could stay in this apartment forever, like, and just not even see the outside world because that's how I grew up, is being, like a recluse like that. So I have to acknowledge that. Okay, Stacy, get yourself outside. You have to get out and see people and talk to people and understand no one's out to get you and no one's out to,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, it's a process.
Yes, it is. And it's just rewiring the brain as well. And speaking
Mhm.
of
And
which rewiring the brain, you had mentioned something about a family size bag of Skittles prior and whatnot, and alcohol and different things that you ate. Can you
mhm.
tell me if those things that you ate, sugar laden things or even processed things, had an impact on the way you thought about things or the way that you viewed your world? Did it make it worse or did it make it better?
Oh, much worse. Like I know for because of the fact that I have been straight carnivore and have let it slip up. As soon as that stuff gets in my system, I start a spiral, a downward spiral of depression and anxiety. And it really starts with me, anxiety, depression. But yeah, I believe truly that it clouds up our mind. We can't, to where we can't even process what has happened to us correctly. So, and then, so what it does, what is it? It gives us that instant gratification to pacify this feeling right now. So yeah, I think it makes it way worse. It made everything way worse, because then what? Then you eat the crap, and then you're beating yourself up for eating the crap, and then it's like it's just a vicious cycle. Once you get all of that stuff out of your system, it's like we don't even know what it feels like to be a human, a proper human with nothing clouding our mental. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't even know what it's like to feel like a human, like a proper human. That's why I like Carrie Man and all their proper human
Mhm.
diet, because it really is. But yeah, I
So
think it made it worse.
so when you went carnivore, you removed all that stuff except for maybe
Mhm.
the occasional thing that you chose. How is your energy as far as your thinking process? Are you honed in? Is it quicker, sharper? Are you more relaxed? What are the
Definitely more
contrasts?
relaxed. Let's see. My energy wise, energy is usually through the roof. I used to sleep, like I could sleep for days at a time. Again, that comes from being in a house where we just would stay in the house. So I could sleep for days. And anyone that knows me or knew me, my sister, my mom, they could tell you, like, my, I could sleep literally all day. Now I'm like, I'm up with the sun. No, that is unheard of. Like, I wish you knew, like, I wish I could explain to you how even my dad, like my dad was the same. Like he could sleep for days, and just everybody, Stacy, then you know that she's probably either sleeping or like, so there's that. The energy's through the roof. I can get up with the sun now. Which but as far as what was the other question? See, that's the one problem though. That I feel like that's chemo brain. I just completely lose track of thought. But
No.
as far as sharpness goes, well, it was like, but now that I'm going through this chemo and everything, I feel like it's almost like pregnant brain where I just completely lose my whole train of thought. But But I still feel, I mean, considering I had like stage 4 cancer, my energy was still, I was still working out every single chance that I could get to go walk or work out at the gym. If I wasn't toxic, I was still doing that. I'm still keeping up with my teenagers. So yeah, very much more clear headed, less anxiety. I still have anxiety because of the severity of the childhood. I call it basically, it's like shell shock. I was in shell shock for 40 something years. But yeah, it's much better as far as my mental. Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So this is what I wanted to also pose. Like, food, the food that we ate, whatever the food was, the preferences or the continued processed food, junk, whatever
Mhm.
that we ate, it kind of helped us stay numb, I think.
Yep.
Stay
Mhm.
numb, right? Not
Yeah.
necessarily feel every time we had a feeling, maybe we turn to food. Every time we got in an argument, we turn to food. If we're celebrating, we turn to food.
Mhm.
Now, with carnivore, are you able to feel the feelings that were okay, so how can I use it? How are you processing your feelings at
Feelings.
this time without having all of that other
I
food
know
and
exactly
junk
what you're
pressed
saying.
it down? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep,
Because
I know
now
exactly because it's an
there's
addiction, right?
nothing, right?
Yep.
There's
Yeah.
nothing there but the actual food, which I still
Yeah.
use food as entertainment,
Me too.
maybe
Yes.
5%, 10%. I will
Yeah.
still overeat carnivore foods periodically,
Mhm.
but I know that I'm doing it intentionally
Right.
because it tastes so
Right.
good or just because I want to.
Right.
But with the other foods, it was suppressing the way I
Yeah.
interacted with people. It was numbing me. It was helping me to cope. It was helping me with
Right.
life, right?
Yeah.
But now with a meat-based diet, there's none of that. I don't get that
Yeah.
high, you
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So
I
how are
do.
you
I do. Yeah,
so
I
how
do
are you
know.
dealing with the emotions that may have been suppressed for 46, 45 years? How are you
Um,
dealing with that? Are they coming to the surface?
oh yes, very much so. I'm learning. It's how I'm learning so much about myself and why all this has happened to begin with. But yeah, I realize when I go stand open the refrigerator, I'm like, Stacy, you're bored. Like this is you're bored. Stop it. Or um, yeah, I mean, I use it for entertainment. Like my kids, I'm still trying to get my kids transitioned, but we have friends over. What do? We eat and go to Thanksgiving, Christmas, everybody's eating. So yeah, I do see it and I can feel it in it. And it's like, it's almost enough to make you want to cry. Like sometimes it's just like, and it's not even, it's just because I don't even know how to explain it. It's just because I know that's an addiction and I have to just wait. It'll pass, it'll pass, it'll pass. But yeah. And then so what I do, I either go walk because it helps me process. I really think about so much when I'm walking, or I either think about it or I'm completely blank and just let it come up, and then I'm like, okay, and it just, I don't know, it's just the coolest thing, really. It kind of helps process. But so I either walk or work out. I will just sit in it, like sit in the feeling, and just be like, okay, this is. I'm feeling like yesterday. It was so bad. I just felt so much anxiety and panic and paranoia and um, sadness, I guess, to where like really accepting that this is like it's almost, I don't know how to explain it. Like the same way when I thought about quitting drinking, like how am I going to have fun now? What am I going to do? Like how are people going to like me? Kind of a thing, right? Yeah, and sometimes you just got to sit in that and realize, okay, this is just a trauma. This is my nervous system is going wacko because of whatever beliefs that I came up with. Sit in it and cry or do whatever, go walk, whatever it is, and let it pass. And try not to eat. If I really, really feel like I need to eat something, I'm going to eat a steak or a bacon, or bacon or steak. I try not to snack too much, but if I snack, it's going to be usually on bacon.
I was gonna say, okay, thank you for that, Miss Stacy. So, what's a typical day of eating for you?
I wake up, I always have eggs and bacon, almost always eggs and bacon. Or it's eggs and leftover whatever meat I had the night before, usually steak. I eat a lot of cheap steak because I can't afford ribeyes every day. I'm living off, so I'll get the cheap cuts of steak, cut them up into steak bites, cook them in butter. For lunch, I don't usually, sometimes I don't even have lunch. I'll wait until dinner. Sometimes I go all morning and just have dinner it's usually steak or the chicken nuggets or hamburger meat. I'll do ground up hamburger meat and mix that in with the eggs and a lot of butter. Obviously, butter makes everything taste better. A lot of salt. I'm trying to cut out like the pepper because of the high oxalate stuff. Every once in a while, I still love pickles and cucumbers, just the fresh coolness of a cucumber, like in summertime. But yeah, I just eat a lot of eggs and meat, really.
Mhm.
Chicken. I eat all the meats, ribs. I don't just stick to beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. That's my main staples, but and then I veer off to the ribs and the chicken and all that stuff too. And I don't eat a whole lot during the day. When I
Okay.
work out, when I'm back to working out every single day, I'll eat a whole lot more, but
So you're listening to your body, it sounds like.
absolutely. That,
Yeah,
and there you
letting
go.
that
That's exactly
dictate
what I
you.
do. Yep, that's the perfect
Yeah,
way. But I just listen to my body
okay.
when I'm legit hungry, and I wait
Mhm.
and wait and wait. Are you sure you're hungry? Are you sure you're? Yep. Now I'm starving. Now I got to eat before I kill someone.
Okay, right, and where they can find you and what you're doing over where you're at, because we're gonna be doing some collaborations
Yay!
together in the
Yeah, that's awesome.
future. So tell them.
Um. Okay. Sorry. So I do have a YouTube channel. It's uh carnivore, cancer, and CrossFit because of those are the three things that I'm going through now. Um, I don't have a lot of videos on there, and it's small. It's just me talking for now. A few things that was showing of what I eat and stuff, but yeah, cancer. I'm sorry, carnivore, cancer, and CrossFit is the name of my YouTube channel. So you can find me there. I'm getting ready to post another video, like I told you earlier, that I'm kind of afraid to post because it does go into deep into my childhood. So I do want my YouTube to be not just cancer, obviously, because I beat the cancer. I mean, I do have to keep it at bay, but and then I love CrossFit. I think everybody should try CrossFit. Um, and yeah, that's where you can find me. I do have
Oh,
Facebook, but Facebook is just like I don't know why I don't even know why I mentioned it because it's just I just like to get on there and keep track of friends and look at funny stuff. So I
but
don't post a lot of stuff on there.
you're on Instagram too, right?
I do have Instagram. I'm just not a big Instagrammer. Like I don't get on it a whole lot. Um, I don't know if it's just because of my age and I'm just not a very social media techie kind of person. I'm trying to get better at that because I know that's the way of the world now, but I like hands-on face to face. I've always
Yeah,
hated talking on the phone and stuff like that. So, but
me too. But
but
if
I
they
am, and
reach
I couldn't tell you. Stacy Johnson is my name on Instagram. Sorry.
so if they reached out to you like I did and sent you a DM, you would eventually get it at some point in time,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm trying to actually, because of you, thank you, realize I really should start checking that Instagram a little bit
Yeah.
more often.
Yeah, maybe just
Yeah,
a couple of times a week or something. But
yeah,
so guys, you long story short, you can either reach out to her on her YouTube channel, and I hope that you have an email address there as well if they reach out
yes,
to you on YouTube, and then on Instagram, and then everything else will be in the show notes. So
yes.
Stacy, let me ask you, do you have any words of wisdom for anybody that may have gone through a cancer diagnosis, loss of beloved family members, or people that are in the struggle trying to make the decision to change for the better as far as their dietary protocol
Mhm.
because of a diagnosis or because of loss of family? What words of wisdom could you give those
Um,
folks?
I think the first and foremost is going to be to really listen to yourself. Try not to take too many of the negativity because it is different. It is extreme to some people. Um, just listen to your own self about whatever treatment that you're going to do, whether that is chemo and carnivore, or whether you. I mean, I know some people who completely, aren't doing any kind of traditional cancer care. They're just doing carnivore. So trust the process with carnivore. Maybe ease into it with keto than carnivore. So because you have a lot of oxalate dumping, really trust the process. Trust yourself. Know what your body needs because deep within you do know what your body needs and what you need. And yeah, reach out for like-minded people for support. Really.
Right on. So the community that you're building in your neck of the woods, Stacy, you would welcome questions or any YouTube feedback and all that good stuff, and maybe building your connections or your community around the three C's actually
I know.
that you listed. I just thought
Yeah,
about that, the
I
three
know. I do.
C's.
Yeah, the three C's.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, y'all. Once again, this is Rose AJ with the Carnivore Connection, where we bring you heartfelt and soulful conversations and life story transformations, such as Stacy's today. Y'all know where y'all can find her, and y'all know where y'all can find me. So hook us up with a like, share, subscribe, okay? Because we need you people. All right,
Yes,
guys. Till next
I love it.
time,
Thank you
take
so
care.
much. That was
You're
awesome.
welcome.